Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to episode 23 of the Mafia Members Podcast, a podcast for the Bills Mafia by the Bills Mafia. As always, be sure to download the Autograph app. Use the promo code Where Else, capital W, capital E, and Where Else when you download the Autograph app. So this episode, we're going to it's going to be a Week 6 recap. Obviously, lots of big news around the Bills and kind of in the AFC East. So we'll recap the game, the Monday Nighter against the Jets. We'll kind of touch on that game and kind of how that played out. Talk about the refs in that game a little bit as well. And then we'll definitely touch on the Amari Cooper trade and look ahead into Week 7 and our matchup against the Tennessee Titans. And then we'll close the show with a little bit of news from around the league and kind of see how that's going to impact the Bills moving forward. Obviously, the big Devontae Adams got traded as well. There's a big matchup this weekend between Kansas City and San Fran, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, so those are kind of the subjects that we'll get into. So yeah, we'll get into it right now.
The Mafia Members Podcast.
Alrighty, everyone. So yeah, Week 6, Monday Nighter against the New York Jets. I don't. How do I want to say it? I don't think we looked great. I mean, I think my takeaway is a win is a win, especially after the past couple of games that we've had. And we were on a 2-game losing streak there, so it's nice to get back into the win column. I think that's kind of my biggest takeaway. There were some plays where, I mean, there were some plays Allen looked great. Like, I don't know, that touchdown that he threw to Dawson Knox. When you watch him escape the pressure there, he runs between Dawkins and the guy Dawkins is blocking. Like Dawkins is standing there blocking the guy, and Allen bends and runs underneath the block in between the two guys, pops his head out, and then sees Dawson Knox breaking for the front pylon, lasers a ball in there, and it's just, when you see him doing stuff like that, like, it's so much fun to watch. Obviously, there's the big play to scramble drill, roll out, big throw downfield, and was caught by Ray Davis, who had a huge game. We'll touch on that. But that was a fun play to watch as well. I didn't. I mean, you see the. It's a nice highlight, but Ray Davis didn't need to jump for that ball at all, and it almost ended up costing him making the catch. It looked like he could have just ran to it and caught it, but he jumped, and there's a photo of him in the air, and he's like pinching the ball with his forearms into his side and like leg area. So I thought that was pretty funny that like he made this hard play that much harder on himself. But man, what a great story. So for those of you who don't know, Ray Davis used to be a homeless. He was an orphan. He was a homeless as a child. He had like 14 or 15 brothers and sisters. They were trying to get him into foster care homes, and lots of the time he was sacrificing his spot so that his brothers and sisters could have a spot to go to. Just an unreal guy. He ends up getting adopted, getting into the University of Kentucky, getting drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and then James Cook is out with a toe injury, and he gets to shine on Monday night. All the lights shining on him. The biggest moment for him for his career, and he gets over 150 yards. Just completely took over the game for us. In all honesty, kind of probably the reason that we won the game was because of how well we were able to run the ball with him. And I think moving forward, this one game, he earned himself more snaps, probably over Ty Johnson. I mean, we all like him, but I think Ray Davis is the more explosive player. He looks like he's a little bit more powerful in his running. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to see him step up and perform. I was happy to see our O-line get out there, start moving bodies around, clearing lanes, giving Josh time in the pocket. We've been complaining about it for the past 2 weeks because we've just been running around there with no time, no running lanes for the running backs. So it was nice to see them bounce back against what's supposed to be the best defense in the league. It was nice to get a win against them and kind of in the way that we did it too. We kind of were able to bully them a little bit. Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson is a special connection, and so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about later on in the show is that trade for Devontae Adams. But man, they're targeting Garrett Wilson 20-25 times a game. It's crazy. So, I mean, he had 100 and some yards and a touchdown. It was a fun game to watch because, like I said, my last point about the game was our defense kind of finally stepped up when we needed them to the most. A big pick by Teron Johnson. Happy to see him back in the lineup, back out there. Taylor Rapp had a really, really good game too. There was a little piece on it. When was it? Or who was doing it? There was, I think it was Colin Coward the next morning where he said that there was four big plays that kind of decided the game, and Taylor Rapp was two of them. The tackle where Breece Hall broke free down the sidelines and it was wide open. It was just the two of them and the whole entire football field. And Taylor Rapp was still able to tackle him. Ended up being 0 points because of a missed field goal. Then the other one was the big hit that he put on Garrett Wilson, I think, in the end zone for an incompletion. So he had a huge game for us. The other two that Coward had mentioned were, so it was the two Rapp plays, the interception by Teron Johnson, obviously, and then right when all the whole game was on the line, I guess not game on the line, but we're looking to seal the deal and get a victory. And Josh Allen scrambles for whatever it was, the 6 yards there that we needed on third down to get the first down. He was jacked up after it, and it was kind of just like it kind of felt like, they might have made a play call, and Allen was just like, nah, I think I'm gonna like put the game on my shoulders, and we're gonna I'll get us the yards that we need. And you'll have to see that from your captain and from the best player on your team. So that's kind of my takeaway from the game. I think overall a little bit sloppy. The refs, that's our next point to discuss, refs in general, but in particular this game. The refs were a big storyline. Ray Davis was a big storyline, and just our ability to bounce back after 2 weeks, after 2 rough weeks, and go in there and beat a team that everyone said was going to beat us again, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, good. Just to get a win is a win. Like Al Davis said, just win, baby. And winning masks and cures all things. So just happy to get a win. But yeah, the refs in that game were brutal. I don't know, like, you can't say like don't call penalties, because obviously you want penalties to be called, but at the same time there's holding on every single play in the league. 100%. They're on the line, on wide receivers and corners. There's holding every single play of the game, and they don't get called. So as a ref, you have to kind of find that balance of what's appropriate to call and what's inappropriate to call. I know when I used to do like basketball refereeing. I'm thinking of getting back into it, but I don't know. But I remember, and I only did like young kids, like 10-year-old kids. And even at that, like, that's even probably a better example, is like, okay, do I want every single trip down the court to be a travel and a double dribble and a carry? Do I want to blow the whistle 10 times per possession because someone is doing something illegal? Or what am I letting slide and just saying, hey, this is actually impacting the game a little bit because you just ran some kid over, so we're going to call the charge, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of where they kind of need to be checked a little bit. Like, okay, we don't need to call every little thing. There's nothing I hate more than a defensive holding on something from the other side of the field, like, has zero impact on the play. Nothing to do with anything. Everyone's standing around like, what the hell happened? Oh, here's a penalty on this guy down over here. Like, those ones we don't need to be called. Those 2 roughing the passer penalties were brutal. Epinesa did not. I don't even know who they called on. I think was it Kingsley? I think is his name. They called him for roughing the passer as well. And not neither one of them were penalties. So to me, there's a fine line where referees are impacting the game negatively, and Monday night was definitely one of them. But one thing I will say is, it always feels like it's worse for your team, and you're sitting there wondering, like, why are they doing that to us? Why are they doing that to us? You pay attention to the bad calls that go against you way more often, but I feel like they were just equally bad to both sides in this game. So I don't think we should be. If you're complaining about the referees, I don't like to complain about the referees, but this one I'm not complaining. I don't like to complain about referees and the fact of determining the game. This one, I don't think determined the game. They were just bad on both sides, calling way too many penalties. Over 100 yards each of penalties is ridiculous. So it always feels like it's worse against you because those are the ones that you pay attention to and are upset about, and then you're happy when they go against the other team. But I think it was just equally bad to both sides. So don't get too caught up in being upset that the refs did all of this, and they definitely didn't do it to Buffalo. It just feels that way. So then the next point that we will discuss is, of course, the biggest and best news of the week is the Amari Cooper trade to Buffalo. And we'll look ahead into kind of week 7 and what that means for Buffalo. So obviously over the weekend, there was a couple tweets about the Bills are in on Devontae. The Bills are in on Devontae. And then we all kind of woke up on Tuesday morning and was like, okay, Devontae is traded to the Jets. And you're like, that's kind of what we figured. That proves that the Raiders weren't willing to eat any cap space. And, maybe Bean wasn't too aggressive in it. And maybe he knew that once Devontae goes, then he can just go ahead and go get Amari Cooper. Because that was kind of the two that were, the most rumored. You can go and try and take a Deontay Johnson out of Carolina or whoever else you want to think is on the trading block. But those were the two big names. And it was only a couple hours after that they announced the trade for Amari Cooper. So to me, that means that Bean had his hand in both on both situations and said, okay, hold on, Cleveland. I'm trying to get Devontae Adams from the Raiders right now. And once he realized that wasn't going to be an option and the news became official, then he goes, okay, boom, we're back on with Cleveland. Let's go. Let's get it done. And we get a guy, great route runner, a man beater, man coverage beater, which is exactly what we needed. We needed someone. Well, we just needed a guy who's going to get open. We didn't have any guys who were none of our receivers were doing that. As we've mentioned, it's okay to think that what the plan was at the beginning was going to work, but you have to adjust and realize that it wasn't working that way. Be it player skill or play design or whatever you want to call it, whatever we thought was going to happen wasn't happening. So nice to see that being pivoted and went to go get the second guy before it was too late, because you don't want to be like Kansas City, who needs a wide receiver, and now you're just sitting there hoping somebody else comes available. So that was nice. So the issue now becomes, well, we don't really want to call it an issue, but the question now becomes, will he play week 1? I think they said today that, yeah, he's going to play, or they at least expect him to dress. And how is it going to impact our offense? So I think we can kind of go back a little bit to, I don't know, maybe the first 3 weeks, maybe the end of last season, where we're going to have a little bit more, maybe a little bit less 13 formation, but even if we do it, we have Amari Cooper out there and 2 big tight ends. And if they're in man coverage and it's just Amari out there, he's going to beat that guy. And then it's just, and we know Josh is going to be able to get him the ball. I don't think Amari Cooper has played with a quarterback on Josh's level yet. Certainly wasn't in Cleveland. Certainly wasn't in Dallas. Certainly wasn't with the Raiders. So I think this is the best quarterback that he's had in his career. And he's put up really, really good numbers. I know I still feel the same way that I wish it was Devontae Adams, because I think he's just a little bit better than Amari Cooper. Well, more than a little bit. I think he's better than Amari Cooper. But was still not. It's Amari Cooper is a very nice consolation prize, and I think that's good. And I think he's gonna. It does exactly what we needed to do, and what exactly my worry was going into the season of expecting Khalil Shakir to be a wide receiver 1. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he fits better in that slot, in that wide receiver 3 area where he was last year. And I also think that it benefits Keon Coleman, because now we can shift Keon Coleman into the slot as well and let him work the intermediate middle of the field. And if you watch, well, really any of his highlights, that's where he does the best. He doesn't do the best out on the sidelines. He's a big body with good hands who will catch contested balls. And so being able to have him in the slot and working the middle of the field is exactly what we need from him. So this trade, the best thing that it does is it kind of slates everybody in the proper order. Now we can get really creative and aggressive with how we use Curtis Samuel as well. And just by the defense having to focus a little bit more on the outside opens up a little bit more for Dalton Kincaid. We've all been waiting for Dalton Kincaid to wake up this year. So hopefully this will help it. So I think the person who benefited the most, I think, is Khalil Shakir / Keon Coleman, because now they're not expected to do more than, I don't want to say what they're capable of. They're not asked to do more than what they're comfortable doing and what they're best at doing. Now we have Khalil Shakir, who's small, speedy, great hands, yards after the catch guy. We have big red zone target, great hands, middle of the field guy, that they can both kind of work the middle of the field. And I think it just kind of takes the pressure off of them. And I think that's going to help them out the most. And kind of, I mean, we weren't really struggling without a wide receiver 1. We had a top 5 scoring offense. Josh is the number 1 in quarterback rating this year, right near the top in a whole lot of things. Still doesn't have a turnover, or an interception. So there's lots of things that we were fine without a wide receiver 1, but it does make it better. Opens up the playbook a lot, and kind of gets everybody else into a comfortable rhythm and kind of into what they're more comfortable doing. And so I'll be really excited to see what he does. I don't expect much from him week 1. Maybe he gets 5-6 targets, a couple catches, maybe 30 yards, 40 yards, something like that, depending. Maybe he can break one, or maybe the first play of the game they just send him out there and just bomb it, and let's just see how it goes, see what happens. Just kind of put that in the back of the defense's mind, and away we go. But overall, for week 7, it's tough because Tennessee currently has the number 1 defense, but I think they also have the worst offense. So I don't expect them to be able to move the ball all that much on us. And we might look like we struggle on offense a little bit because their defense is good. All that being said, you need a touchdown to beat these guys, and that's it. Will Levis is not moving the ball on us. They got a bunch of injuries, actually, I just saw today as well. They got a lot of guys who are out on defense. So if their defense is struggling, even healthy, that offense is struggling. So I don't see a way in which we lose this game. I'm going to say it's what's a fair score? We'll say 27-3. 27-3 for Buffalo. And I think it's just an easy game. I think that's one of the best things about trading for Cooper when we did is this is a perfect game to get him into the team, get him used to the flow, get him used to the offense, kind of ease him into it a little bit. And we don't need a big game out of him, so don't expect too much out of him. Don't force anything on him. Just let him get his feet wet a little bit, and then we can go on a nice little run. Okay, so that brings us to the news from around the league segment of the show. And so obviously we touched on it a little bit, but the biggest news from around the league is Davante Adams going to the Jets, and that obviously affects Buffalo because we do have to play the Jets one more time. I don't know, though. I think the Amari Cooper trade to Buffalo is more significant than Davante going to the Jets. I think it would have been the same thing if the players were reversed. Davante going to whoever went to the Bills was going to make a bigger impact because we're a better team than them. Like it doesn't matter who Rodgers is throwing the ball to if he doesn't have the time to throw the ball, if he's constantly under pressure, if the defense isn't getting any stops, like it'll be nice, it'll be fun, it'll be cool to see Rodgers and Davante Adams back together, and they're probably going to be all right. They'll probably, get whatever 8 catches, 80 yards and a touchdown a game kind of thing, like whatever it is, but it's not going to move the needle in terms of making them win games is what I'm saying. Cause like first of all, the Ravens and the Houston game, if our defense was 100% healthy, I think that changes the outcome of both of those games. Maybe not wins, but it's a little bit closer. Now you add in Amari, and especially against Houston, if we had Amari, that's a win for sure. Because even without him, and even as poorly as Josh Allen played, he was 9 for 30. It still came down to the worst coaching decision we've seen recently, and then a 59-yard field goal for them to win by 3. So it's a lot closer than that game is a lot closer than people think or people remember. But anyways, I digress. And then the last point that we'll touch on for the show today is the big showdown, I think, this week, or what should be America's game, or what everybody's going to be watching, is Kansas City, San Fran. It's the rematch of last year's Super Bowl. A game I'm excited to watch for sure. It'll be nice. It'll be a good story. It'll be fun to see Ricky Pearsall get his first game in this year. He obviously went through that whole incident at the beginning of the season where he got shot in the leg, I believe it was. So it'll be cool to see him get back out there, not back out there, but get out there and play a game. I think Kansas City's going to win this game. That's just kind of what they do. I think San Fran, despite how much I like San Fran, I really, really like San Fran. I really like their roster. I like everything of who they are and what they do. But I don't know. It's not clicking for them. I think they need to get McCaffrey back. and I don't know if he will be coming back or not. And without him, I think it's going to be tough for San Fran to beat Kansas City. So I'm picking Kansas City. I don't know anything about like the betting lines or the odds or whatever, but I'd pick Kansas City. I'd pick for them to win by like a field goal. You know, it's going to be whatever, like a 30-27 game, something like that. Like Brock Purdy's still going to do fine. I think the Kansas City defense is a little bit better than the San Fran defense. But that's how I see that game playing out. So thank you guys so much for listening. As always, go to the Mafia Members Pod on Twitter. Click the link in the bio. There's a link to this to my store there, and we're doing a giveaway for our whenever we reach 100 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're 40 away. We're at 60 subscribers. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Go subscribe to the show, and once we reach 100, we're doing a giveaway of anything in the store. So go give me a follow on Twitter. Go check out the store. Go subscribe, and you'll have a chance to win. You get to pick whatever item you want out of the store, and we'll ship it over to you. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, go Bills.